questions.
Becky in Tallahassee.
She wants to know, have you ever dropped an arrowhead and broke it?
Actually, I chipped one. It's up here in this case up there, that white one with the real strong expanded base.
Yeah.
Second row, second from the left.
Oh, okay.
That was actually my first hunt with Devin Wayne 69 from YouTube over in his neck of the woods over around Owensville. And we had went creek hunting for a while and didn't find a whole lot. And he's like, well, I got this other spot. And it was actually along another creek, but
Yeah.
it was a patch of dirt bank that we believe, I mean, after I looked at it, where they cleared the top land and pushed a bunch of dirt over the side. So what they
Okay.
did was they pushed a campsite
Yeah.
over off to this bluff side that's right next to the river, real short bluff, and it probably had anywhere, once upon a time, who knows how much dirt, 12 foot sticking out there. When we were there, it's probably about 6-8 foot of dirt in spots. And he said that his buddy that took him there when they first started hunting could go there after every flood and find a point sticking out of dirt somewhere because they were washing all that bank. Well, when I get there, of course, I'm like, well, dude, you got tools in your car.
Yeah,
let's do some dirt scratching.
Yeah,
Let's see
sure.
what we can find. So we're digging away, and we're pulling out. I'm like, dude, we're pulling out flakes like mad,
Yeah.
And so we're digging real close to each other, and we both see the point at the same time. It's kind of basically on his side, So I'm like, well, pull it out, man. Pull out your point, It's a nice little point, quartz, show it on the video. I can't remember what the name of that video is, but so of course we go back to digging, and then boom, that point pops out.
You found that one?
Yeah, and I come home, and what I'm doing is I'm taking cleanup video inside, which I don't hardly like to do anymore because I have bad lighting in my house.
Yeah.
And I think your lighting and everything makes a difference, whether you're taking pictures or you're taking video, and I only do it to try and help people further, progress at doing it,
Yeah.
It took me a long time to learn to take good pictures, take a lot of pictures.
Yeah.
And with some inside lighting, if you have the correct lighting, they will take good pictures if you have the point positioned right, your camera just right, with your best lighting for pictures or video is always in the morning sun or the evening sun,
Yeah.
where you can just barely cast a little bit of shadow across them ridge scars.
Yeah, seeing that flaking.
And it shows the flaking a lot more. Now, some lighting is bad for color, and that's why sometimes it's good to have a little bit of shade right next to you, especially if you're doing video, where you can slip it in the shade a little bit, and sometimes it shows the color better.
Yeah.
Especially with our material. It's not like a solid hornstone or something like that, something like a lot of the rhyolite points are usually a solid color, where ours has so much color variation in them.
Yeah.
Light to shade makes a big difference, but it does that with about any type of material, really. But you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure.
But I did get off subject there.
There's no such thing in this podcast.
Yeah, I have a.
I'm not even hitting the hookah, man.
I found a
it's just
Smith
about-
one time, or Melville. I get them confused still. But it had deep ears on it, and I was so excited to get home, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to go in and show my mom real fast, and I'll sit on my lap. Jumped out of the truck, and it flew off, and I busted one of the ears off.
Oh,
Lost
did you
it
find
in the gravel, and it took me about 2 hours to find it. And I finally did, and I glued it back together. You can't even tell, but it's still there. It sucked.
That's why archaeologists are like, stop digging, you guys are just throwing these points around. No, I've never dropped one.
Yeah,
Well, shit, I shouldn't say
Well,
that.
I guess
Not
I
that word.
either dropped them or actually I sat them down. And funny thing is, they're both on video. One's from a couple of years back. I was out kayaking by myself, and I think that one is, I almost remember the name of that video. Lost for Another 5,000 Years or something like that. But I was in one of my favorite waterways, and this gravel bar found a little bitty pink dart point. It was
Yeah.
actually a pretty nice point, except it had probably some cool ears coming off of it, which were knocked off.
Yeah.
But if you looked at it, from 12 inches away from your face, you really couldn't tell that. And I went on hunting up the creek, and boy, I got back to the vehicle, got everything, loaded, unloaded, and gathering my. I'm like, where's that point? That point's gone. Lost it.
No,
Yeah, never
that's
find it again.
That's a bummer, man. Found and lost.
And
again.
then it was in a video last summer, the beginning of summer. It's up there in that case, my main Creek Point case. It's a piece of banded Just City chert where it runs horizontal instead of vertical like a lot of it does.
Yeah.
You know, and it's on video of me finding it, and then I remember what point it is because I think I give it to my niece, but it's a great big loppy Melville. It was just beat in the waterway for a long time. And when I picked it up, I set that point down and not put it in my bag. And so I get back to the vehicle, that point's gone. Well, we were getting so much rain at that time, we kind of got another little wash, like 4 or 5 feet. I don't remember what. I had been to some other areas, and that's usually one of the areas I go to first when water comes back down in Huntable. And so, same gravel bar, I see the edge of this point sticking up out of the sand, and I juke at it, and it's that point.
That's crazy.
And that's on video.
That's awesome.
So I found it twice.
That's cool. Ooh, man, you got lucky there. You
Yeah.
almost lost that. Yeah, that's a good one.
You like fishing a lot. You fish down below the dam. I fish down below the dam. Like
Oh,
at
yeah.
shad and goldeneye.
Absolutely.
whatever,
Goldeneye and
skipjack.
skipjack. Well, it depends on the season. Sometimes some winters more goldeneye swim up there, and you get them in great big schools, and they'll actually get bigger, I believe, than a lot of the skipjack we
Yeah.
get. The skipjack look kind of more like a rainbow trout look
Yeah.
to them, where your goldeneye has the goldeneye, but they have the real more like goldishy
They have
scales
like
to them.
teeth or something on their tongue.
Yeah, they got little bitty teeth.
Well, I catch those guys, and I cut them up for bait.
Yeah,
and I caught
kitty bait.
in 1 week. I went on a Monday and I caught a 40-pounder within 20 minutes. Friday I came back, caught a 40-pounder within 20 minutes off. And I never bring my own bait. I always catch them right there in the river, cut them up, and go to where
Absolutely, if you're gonna catfish.
Oh man,
Even if you want to catfish in the lake, you're better off to, in the wintertime, go down below the dam and catch goldeneye or skipjack. What I do is I bring them home, and you usually gotta cut them in half,
Yeah.
you know, and then you vacuum seal them, and you just throw them in the freezer. And then when you want to know you're gonna be going catfishing, you pull some out and you
fresh.
Yeah,
I like fresh
and it's
shad.
fresh. I keep them whole too. I like to keep the guts and everything in them, but when I do use them, I fillet them out and I descale them, and then I hook them on a great big kale hook.
I don't do it. I mean, I catch them right then, cut them up in quarters. And the last 2 times that I went and caught 40-pounders were for the head. Everybody tells me use the gut pouch. Well, I'm just gonna go down the line.
Oh yeah, heads are great.
Heads are great.
You always want to use the head, but I save the head for last, and I fillet, nice little chunks of meat off, because a lot of guys put a little piece of bait on.
Not me.
I'm fishing for a big fish.
What size hook
so
do you use?
I like a great big piece of bait.
Yeah.
What size hook do you use when you?
Oh, it depends. I can go grab them. Most of them are usually like anywhere from a 4.0 Kale, whisker sticker hook, to sometimes a 7.
I don't use anything below a 9/0. I only use circle hooks that are 9/0 and bigger. 10/0. The Bass Pro and Ellen has 10/0.
Yeah,
Once
see,
in a
I
while,
don't use circle hooks.
I use big old giant. I mean, my pole.
Those
I have
are-
a 12-foot
Those
pole.
are deep water sea fishing hook. But
I use this when I use this 12. I got a 12-footer with a 100-pound test, and when that thing bends over, there's a fish on. It ain't coming off, and
Yeah.
it's usually
I
20 minutes.
I like a 7-foot medium heavy stick. That's all I ever need.
I got 2 of them.
That's all I've ever needed is that 7-foot.
It's hard for me to get in on this one because I don't fish at all.
No?
Nope.
Man, you're missing out.
I've tried. I mean,
See, when I started fishing, that was my first. Well, your mother and your grandmother is always your first loves, you know what I mean?
yeah.
But fishing was actually, as a kid, one of my first loves. But I always kind of had an OCD thing, when I was little. If you were even my cousin, you didn't touch my toys. They were in order. They were kept a certain way. You didn't mess with them.
Yeah.
Come to your house, I'll play with your toy, but I'll put it back where I found it. But and it just kind of progressed on, through different things in my life, with some things combining together. But when I was about 9 or so, you know, my step grandpa, he fished at our park pond all the time, catfish. You know, he's retired, go down there. Anytime it's nice, you know, he'd be down there fishing. You know, so I kind of started fishing with him. But then when I got my mid-teen years, you know, I just wanted to fish, you know, and it just kept growing and growing. But I had to read everything I could get my hands on, you know.
Yeah.
I had, you know, instead of bugging my mom once a month for a magazine at the store, you know, that's what I got for birthdays or Christmas was magazine subscriptions, you know, like the Rock Magazine Circus.
Yeah.
You know, you guys probably aren't old enough to remember
I
that.
heard of it though.
You know, because I'm gonna be 48,
Yeah.
you know, in
Yeah.
here in a month or so. And heck, you know, that was a magazine that come out, I was like 14, 15, so 84, 85, you know, but I always read that, always read In Fisherman.
Oh, really?
And then you always had your Game and Fish magazines.
Oh, so you're
Yeah.
like super into it.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Bassmasters, you know. Bassmasters before what it is today, you know. This is 30 years ago.
See, I even attempted a lot of fishing in the Missouri River, and I tried to learn about it, and it's just, so to me, I need somebody to go with me, and I might have to take you with me. The way you talk about fishing on the Missouri, I mean, yeah, I want to go with you, but I got a boat now. And so if you wanna go fishing, I'll take you fishing.
But see, always been a multi-species angler, you
Me
know,
too.
and I kind of nowadays I chase them seasonally because I know what I can fish seasonally and it's hammer time. You know, I go and I know it's the best time to go, and I mean everybody's always already done that scientific work for us. You know, like your solar calendars.
Mhm.
You know, it don't work perfectly, but it works pretty dang good. You know, especially if you follow it. Don't matter if you're a deer hunter or a fisherman.
Yeah.
You know,
Lunar calendars is what I use when I deer
But-
hunt. I don't deer hunt if there's a full moon. You know that?
you don't.
You know why?
Don't you know that's when they move the most during the middle of the day? Any professional that makes a ton of money off of deer hunting hunts, if not all day, always during the middle of the day because during a full moon they will move during midday more than any other time to
So
feed.
I don't really hunt.
It's also the
midday.
same way with fishing.
Really?
You know, but during a new moon is always your best time. You know, it doesn't matter if it's fishing or deer hunting. Everything goes with more on a movement and more of a feeding.
See,
mode.
I don't
But
hunt
everything affects them.
during
you
a
know.
full moon. During noon. I mean, I've shot a lot of deer with my bow the last
Like
couple of years.
catfishing, I love catfishing during the middle of the day, especially during a full moon.
Noon even.
Yeah.
Well, what I figured out
If you're
is
in the right hole, it don't matter what it's like.
Now-
The right bait, you're gonna catch them.
Yeah.
deer are more nocturnal than ever right now, and what I figured out is they feed so much during a full moon that when there's no moon, they don't move around and feed as much at night, and they'll feed more at day. And so every time I wait until the moon is almost not there, or there's just a small little bit of moon, I go out there and I have such good luck, man. I mean, there it is, coming right to me.
So
Great luck last couple of years.
So do you think the bullwinkle will come out if, let's say, the blood moon that
Yeah.
happens?
Oh my
It's like-
god.
Well, I'm with Rocky too.
Shaking my bow. I mean, I shoot. I take bow archery very seriously, and when bow hunting, I literally before bow season, I run a couple miles a day to get ready.
None
For
of
it.
you just ever read the Bow Hunter magazine?
Yeah,
Well, that's where I learned a lot of things from bow hunters. You know, it's like it doesn't matter if you're bow hunting or gun hunting. A lot of guys think I'm crazy when you say, you know, you want to position 2 different stands in 2 different areas. You know,
Oh, yeah.
normally because of whatever your major wind direction is. And once you have that established, you want to eyeball out shooting lanes for every even on the hour. You
Oh
know,
man.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10 o'clock, all the way back dead in front of you at 12 o'clock. That way it doesn't matter if you're hunting with a gun or whatever. If they're 100 yards out from you and you're shooting through timber, especially with a rifle, and you have all your branches trimmed out of your way,
Yeah.
you have a perfect shooting lane. Especially if you're a bow hunter, you know, and you're gonna hunt thick timber because during the day that's where most bucks are gonna be at, is in the timber. So you have to make your advantages greater than his advantages. And the only way to do that is to be just a little bit smarter,
Yeah.
you know. You have nothing in your way but you still want cover too, you know what I
And that's
mean?
crazy. So that there's deer hunters that go out and trim trees and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Every year I do.
Absolutely.
I put out, actually, I trim, and then I put a few salt licks. Right now in the winter is the best time to feed them. This is when they need it the most to be a strong deer next year. This is when they're most desperate, is when everything's frozen. So right now is when you should be feeding the deer.
Yeah.
And so I'll feed them, and then I'll stop feeding them springtime. And then that's when you come back, and they move in and they're comfortable with the territory and they come through, and water source is a big deal. I got a pond, a naturally.
You guys got both cameras.
Yeah, well, no, you're the main star
You're the
here.
star.
No, I ain't no star, man.
Kinda.
Like I always say, there's that. Right there, that's the star of the show.
Yeah.
I mean, hear that? That's Flint, folks. That's Flint. Well, actually, it's a piece of Just City Church. We don't
There it
actually
is.
have.
It sounds a
We
little
have
different.
church. Well, actually, most of true Flint. The word Flint is Netherland material. We don't have Flint,
Yeah, I had some guy correct me like,
but we all
you
call
don't
it
even have
Flint.
Flint. I'm like, calm down.
It's
I
a generalized
understand.
word. It's a generalized word. It's
The last Arrowhead
It's like
show.
people freak out sometimes when you say the word bird point. You know, they're like, bird points, they were used to kill birds, or people that weren't used to kill birds. No, it's a generalized
Yeah.
name.
Yeah.
They
They're
actually
small.
all have their own separate word. Now, of course, they probably shot at some turkeys, probably some geese and some ducks, stuff with them. You know, waterfowl, you know, big game birds, but regular birds, no, absolutely not. They killed deer with them.
Well, when you going out to
They
kill something,
killed any animal with them, you know, and then of course being the Mississippian culture, you know, they probably have little rival group arguments once in a while, maybe
mean-
shoot a few at each other,
yeah,
but
there you go.
You mean
you
they
know,
weren't teal
you really
hunting?
don't want most of your people to die, but
They weren't teal hunting?
Probably.
They didn't get the first morning teal hunt?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
They
yeah,
didn't
teal
win
hunt.
on the radio? Hey, you get the first time out there.
it's like a lot of most of my bird points are sequoias, scalorns, Madisons. There's a couple Dardanelles in there.
I call them scalhorns. Does it matter? Does it matter? Is it for? I mean, I don't know how to call them.
Is it like Cooper Cup?
Cooper Cup? Is it a
Yeah.
cup?
I
It's a
don't.
coop.
It's a Coop.
Coop.
See,
I like
would-
it.
I've heard Coop and I've heard Cup.
Does the U become long because of the extra P?
Yeah.
So what we're smoking right now is Nirvana Super Shisha. It's called Sex Monkey and it's trademarked.
Sex Monkey.
Sexy
Monkey.
melon and mind-blowing mint. Okay, calm down. You need to not market your shisha that well.
So your Sea of Dirt, man, is this still rocking?
No. It's all planted into fescue now.
Fescue.
Yeah, because the river eats it too much.
It's over.
The past 10 years, yeah. When they can put in a new field on a high ridge, you know, bad thing about that is the brother controls that part, and he's real stickler and just doesn't want
That
anybody in
sucks,
it.
man.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Because I've been picking points up out of there since 2003.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, besides minus 2 years with my accident, and then 2015 when I didn't get to do nothing, you know, that's still 15 years of hunting in it.
Good lord,
Hey,
man. You
With
found a
good
lot of stuff
pickings,
out there.
with good pickings, yeah.
Remember that? I took a picture of some fields and I posted it on YouTube or
There's
Facebook.
an important subject right there. I forgot all about that. We're gonna have to make this just a little bit longer, but
Do it.
yes, pictures and videos because of knowing for 20 years experience. And some people, you know, I hate to take it into too depth, but if you're gonna film, and I believe everybody, you know, I want to see younger generation, you know, become more YouTube too, you know, which
Yeah.
we're starting to get that now. There's a lot more old timers starting to disappear. And, but when you're filming, don't show landscape.
Yep.
You know, keep your stuff to the ground. When you're taking pictures of your stuff, you know, keep it to the ground. When people ask what county you live in, there's no reason to tell them.
Yeah.
There's always somebody out there
looking for it.
looking to hunt somebody else's spot.
Yeah. Especially
Usually
when you
because
find-
they don't want to put the homework or the time in to find their own,
Yeah.
you know, and if people would, they could actually find their own. If you go door knocking enough, you know, find out who owns what and, you know, they got fields and stuff, eventually somebody's gonna tell you yes. You know,
Yeah.
you just gotta keep asking.
I
Yeah.
called
You may get told 300 times, and one day come across the right farmer that says, yeah, there's about another half a dozen guys that hunt out there, and as long as you don't, you know, walk on my crops and stuff, you know, I don't
Yeah.
care. They pick them up by bucketfuls. Go ahead, son. You know,
Gosh.
you're going to run into that.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, because it's already there.
Yeah.
You know, I've been there, done that. You
But
know,
you're talking more like digging
But-
spots and
too many people, you know, and that's where I messed up. You know, in the beginning of a lot of videos, I showed landscape, you know, and allowed everybody just, you know, there's a lot more hunters nowadays, and
yeah,
you know, there's always somebody looking to hunt somebody's other spot, so you have to be careful. A lot of guys have gotten where they don't share nothing, you know.
yeah,
There's
Some
a
guys,
guy-
some guys do share. They don't share very much, or you know, they never say what county they live in. I've never told anybody what county I live in.
yeah.
You know, it just you know how many counties run along the Osage River?
A ton.
whole bunch.
This is Pulaski County for you folks. What?
No,
Well,
yeah,
There's
yeah.
a guy at our Arrowhead shows like, listen, I can. Well, he was like, I can find where you dig by
No,
just watching Arrowhead.
no.
Right?
The guy that happened to me was on the Osage. He was out there hunting, you know, and I was out there hunting, and it's no secret of where I was at. Everybody hunts, but this guy named, you're probably familiar. He wrote a book about Arrowhead hunting, Willie B.
Yes, absolutely. I know Willie. He's been to our Lake Ozark Arrowhead
well,
show.
Willie B. Well, I don't know who he is at all. He comes, him and
He's from the
Creecumber.
Springfield area.
Yep,
Creecumber's a sweet guy.
Creecumber's with him. Of course.
Well, yeah, they're buddies. They've known each other.
Yeah, but
Oh, Creecumber's a cool dude, though.
yeah, oh yeah, but he
First
didn't
guy
even,
to ever buy my Arrowhead. And,
Creecumber didn't even really come up and talk to. It was me and Schaefer, and I found a killer Dixon. I mean, a nice one. But that Willie B, he comes up and he's like, he's telling me, he's like, yeah, you can pretty much guarantee. He's like, I know you're on YouTube, and he rattled off your name and Richard. And he's like, I know where all their sites are just because, you know, they filmed that one tree, and I'm thinking, dude.
Yeah, there's a lot of spots in Missouri that look a lot
There's
alike.
a lot of
There's
trees, man.
one. You go down about any waterway around from my direction within an hour, and they all look the same.
Yeah, so he didn't know. I mean, he didn't know where the spots
No.
were, but he made a clear point, like he's out to find them.
Mike.
How many videos does he think we watched?
Yeah.
Come on.
One day
Come
I
on.
posted a picture, and it was a beautiful morning. I was just hiking, and I posted this long field after field after field down by Lizard Rock, and I
Yeah.
posted it. And Mike's like, "There's no artifacts in that field." I never found any artifacts until recently. I was deer hunting, and I was looking down for tracks, and I found a perfect point.
Well,
And
yeah,
this
some,
field, I'm
I've,
like,
I've
oh
been
my.
all over the place, so yeah, when sometimes other locals show things, I know
Yeah, oh, yeah.
exactly
He
where they
knew
are.
where I was, and
Yeah.
it was down below Paleo Hill, and I was in this field, and I'm like, "Oh, there's a perfect arrowhead. I wonder if I should tell Mike this." In this corner of this field, there's artifacts, and I found a bird point too. I'm
There
like,
are a lot of. I mean, there's a million fields. Well, gosh, the one right there below the dam that they plow every year. People are thinking, you know, how many people I've heard say, "Oh, I'm gonna go out there and find some arrowheads," and I've only heard of one. Me personally, one arrowhead ever coming out of that field, and it was a Madison bird point. You know, some fields just weren't. But every time the river floods, that field's the first one to be flooded every time.
yeah,
I mean,
you don't want to drown.
but yeah, you go down to like where the river cabin
Yeah, and the
is.
channel before that was a pretty big and deep channel at
Yeah.
one time. So
Yeah.
you have to imagine when that channel was still a river before they put the dam in there, that area probably flooded easy.
Yeah.
Because if you go down around the corner, just across the road on the other side of the river, but
Yeah.
folks, you don't want to get caught in there. That lady will
Bee?
probably drown you.
Yeah, she's crazy.
So what you do is you pay to ride a dirt bike. I do motocross, and I'd pay $12 to go out there and ride, and I would take my time going through the field, looking around. I found some broken tools out there, and then you hit the jumps to come back, chill out.
Well, I'm not
mine's
talking about
over.
that side of the river. I'm talking still on this side of the river,
Oh.
but at the corner where it corners, that field that's on that corner, like across from the old Indian burial cave and all that.
Oh yeah,
Across
yeah,
from D-Road
okay.
right there.
Yeah, that big farm.
There's a good couple good sites out there.
Yeah. Have you ever been down further on the next corner?
Oh, yeah.
Right across from Camp Bagnall?
Oh,
Yeah.
old oak tree, past that. You
No,
know?
well, that's where my grandpa's river cabin
Yeah.
is. Yeah, you know that she
At Ferry Point.
B she runs everybody out of there like and it has for years and She actually sold that to a guy.
She's losing it because of the lease, right?
Yeah. Well, she sold it to a guy named Calvin, and he's gonna let her do the dirt bike thing. But the lease is gonna be up this year, thank God. And but yeah, once that's all done, he has actually given me full Arrowhead rights to that whole property.
Wow. Have you ever seen her walls?
Who?
Bee's walls.
Walls of.
Arrowheads?
Rocks.
Yeah. Okay, I was thinking like rock walls outside or something.
No, the walls in her house.
Yeah, no, she's got some old points that's come out of that field, man. Believe it or not. I mean, a lot of it, most of it's woodland.
You gotta buy that someday, Corey. We gotta get rich enough to buy her points.
Oh,
Or you
points?
get close enough to her where you can just be in the will.
Hmm.
Hey, B, you want a barbecue?
Every
Saturday.
year she finds something killer driving her four-wheeler across there because she can't even hunt it no more.
Yeah.
She has to four-wheeler hunt.
Yeah.
But last year she found a nice axe from the
Yeah.
four-wheeler, you know, and I found 14 arrowheads out there in one day. I mean,
She's a nice lady to me. One day I went down the road, I was riding, and I told her, you know, ma'am, it's too muddy. I guess I'll just come back. She's like, no, honey. I'll tell you what, you get 2 free ride sessions down here. Don't worry about the next 2 times. You don't have to pay. Just sign the waiver. And, you know, I was doing motocross then before I got really hurt from wrecking. And she was so nice to me.
Yeah,
That was her
she's
only. I'd go down there and ride every day, every week, just 5 days a week, just jumping jumps, you know.
yeah, she's super nice, man.
She's nice, but boy, I didn't mention that I was riding around looking for arrowheads, and she'd
oh yeah,
kill
you
me,
better not. She will kill
snipe
you.
me from a distance.
Yeah, well, she.
Mike. Have you seen any good movies lately, buddy?
A good movie. Sorry, folks. I had to respond to a message. I opened up a Facebook group here the other day, an artifact group. just
Best
because-
What was the message?
Oh, I can't explain that. That's between the administrators.
Oh, okay,
of the group,
I got you,
know,
I got you.
It's one of the
um,
best
but-
groups I've found on. Okay, so Artifact Addictions was a bunch of fakes. So Mike opens up a Facebook group, private, only personal finds.
Yeah,
That's just private. It's just personal.
What's the guy
finds, is what I
named
call the group.
Rick Hearsey?
That's Mr. Rick Jutsu from YouTube.
Oh,
no, Rick Hearsey is Rick Jutsu? Oh, shit.
Why?
Yeah, sorry, I'm not used to seeing YouTube names. Dude,
Yeah.
this guy's got a badass point he dug up. I'm talking. I told him, hey, I'm gonna give you a shout out because
What
when
is
I can't even remember now.
He dug it up?
He said, all right, Mike's like personal finds only, whatever else. It
Yeah.
has to be personal find. So Mike posted a video of him digging a point out. And he dug this point out, and it was beautiful. I'm like, dude, I'm giving you a shout out. And now it's funny because I can't remember exactly.
Do you know what point it was that he dug out that you posted?
It was
Did I
nice.
post it? I don't know. I posted
No,
a
Mike.
couple.
Mike point.
Oh, it was a Sedalia.
Yeah, I think it
Yeah,
could have been.
Is that their new
yeah.
Sedalia site they're digging on up there
Yeah,
somewhere?
they call it Etleyville.
Yeah, Utleyville.
Yeah.
We were up there. We were finding apple creeks up there where he
Oh
was
yeah,
at.
man, I got some good leads on some spots north of Columbia that are, if I can find them, they're gonna be retarded.
50% retarded.
We need to go.
Slow.
We need to go find it.
50% of my arrowheads are from Columbia.
Yeah.
And one day I had a little miniature wiener dog, a miniature dachshund, and I had the last 10 slammed to the ground. And I went into this field and found some bird points and came out, you know, tired from hiking. And this guy came up behind me. He's like, "This is the second day your truck's been here. I know you got a meth lab." I'm like, "Whoa,
Oh
what?"
my
And he's like, "I
God.
called the sheriff and they're on their way. What's your name?" And I'm like, "What's my name?" No, I threw the dog in the truck, took off. He tried to follow me. I was going probably 100 miles an hour down 63 to get rid of him. Dude, the cops he never got my license plate number.
Do you remember that time that car was parked down by my truck and we came up with a whole story of what we were gonna do to get out of it, and you were actually gonna be
Retarded. Like I'm a special.
you were gonna be my special brother that I was taking.
And I mean, who wouldn't allow that? Like, oh, sorry, I didn't know.
Oh, we
He's
had it
supposed to
all
find-
planned out, and
Yeah.
he was gonna like throw a fit, and I was gonna be like, I gotta get him home. He's overexhausted. And it was just a guy teaching his son to ride a bike.
Yeah, well, that was across the road.
Dude, when we came out of that field and got back on the road to start walking back to my truck, we were probably 50 yards from that creek.
Tim Mackey?
Yeah, Tim Mackey's over in.
Yeah, I didn't know
It
that.
was right there. That's where it's at.
Yeah.
That little creek where you found that Apple Creek.
Mm-hmm.
go underneath the highway, boom, right there.
That is an amazing.
Now, see, there was a shelter there that had a lot of red clay in it.
Yeah.
And that's the only difference in digging in red clay. And a lot of times it's because something caused that shelter to fill in with that red clay, you know, where,
Yeah,
It's-
naturally.
yeah.
Yeah, man, that
wa-
spot.
Wash in, you
That
know.
spot is so freaking awesome. You know, and he's quit digging that site. The last time when I was there,
Even the old drive-in site where I dug up my Big Apple Creek and
Yeah.
the great big ads and everything, that's all on video up there at
Yeah.
Mackey that day. That site is filled with them humps out there that, you know, they pit potted in and found, you know, at least material every time they
Yeah.
dug a test hole.
they're
What's,
not, they're not even digging anymore.
Tim Mackey's YouTube channel? What's that called?
Flint Sessions.
Okay, Flynn and Sessions has some of the best YouTube videos.
Yeah, they got good ones.
And anybody listen to
Not the
the
best video.
Come on, no, no, no.
What a hater, folks.
Hey,
What is that? It got the best videos in the world.
I love.
Are you serious?
The grindstone overhang? I do enjoy those videos. That spot is so awesome. I would give anything to get the permission for that site. They
You're on
stopped
those
digging that.
videos.
They just left.
Yeah.
And they
It's
did.
tough digging.
It is
Well,
tough.
I was never there, but
Well, you know, the first time I went there, I found one of my favorite points of all time. And it's on video, and me digging it out, and it wasn't that hard. It took me forever to get it out without breaking it, you know. And when I was there, he told me, he's like, yeah, you know, this site's about done. That site was nowhere near done. You know, he only had his one shaft going straight through the center up to the walls.
yeah.
But he had all the sides to go, and he just stopped. They just stopped.
Folsom Blues.
Yeah, there's a lot of dirt there. There's still a lot of artifacts.
And they
there.
don't dig there no more, though, at all. They're, from what I've understood, that they're done. Like Richard said, they just completely abandoned
Yep.
it to the point of where the owner, you know, I don't even think they have permission anymore. I don't know.
Wow. So we got
You really
Folsom-
think people
Folsom
are gonna
Blues.
listen to a podcast this long? We've been talking for a couple hours.
No,
Are they
not
really
really.
that long?
When I listen to a podcast, I listen to certain podcasts. It depends on the podcast. 4 hours.
Yeah, I
4
listen,
hours
I listen to
straight.
Joe Rogan's podcast every day. That's about 2.5 hours long every time.
Minimal.
And I listen to it all day for 8 hours,
Yeah.
just episode after
But
episode.
he's really popular.
He is really popular.
Well,
Hey, this, Mark,
We're
this is
just little pebbles
this
in
is
the on the
gonna
on the
be
beach.
this is gonna be popular, man.
You know, I could split this into two different categories, or two different podcasts.
That'd probably
because we
be
have a
easier for
very
people, don't you think,
educational-
folks.
We have a very educational side of it, and now we're starting to loosen up and
Yeah.
talk about what.
Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of things going there on your phone, Dana. Are people like leaving comments or
Well,
stuff?
that's Corey's Instagram, and that's Folsom Blues is watching. Mo Arrowhead is watching, and if
Okay.
you've ever gone on Instagram,
Hey Mo, what's up, bro?
if you have any
We know
questions,
Mo.
go ahead and pop them now. I'll read them off. But until then, anybody have any questions on the live status? Well, you know, just pop them off. We'll answer them.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I need to plug my phone in.
So besides fishing, I got 2 German Shepherds. I spend a little time with them. I got a wife. I got a foster kid. I went ahead and did the foster care thing.
Stellar, dude.
That's
I
awesome.
didn't even know that.
I got a great kid.
Awesome.
She's awesome. No, she's
Kudos to
16.
you on that, man. More people should do that.
Well, Kelly and I, we was like, well, we can't really have kids, so let's.
Mo Arrowhead just said we need to get Richard Whittle on here.
Oh man, talk
Yeah,
about a
we're-
4-hour-long podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, trying to get him to loosen up to say something. Did you guys?
He won't even get on Instagram.
No, did you guys ever watch his news thing? They did that little show before the
Oh,
Olympics.
absolutely.
He was stumbling all over himself. Yeah, he's not a very public person, you could say. You know, he's not very comfortable sitting down.
Which is hilarious because when people get on Richard's Rock House on YouTube, they can't get enough.
The best time if you're ever going to record him is not even let him know you're recording when you're digging. Because
Well-
you guys talk the whole time. I mean, you're always talking about something.
Now it
Oh,
is
yeah.
very possible.
I mean, we quiet down a little bit.
Yeah,
We're always having some
Not
kind
me.
of conversation.
I'm always like so into what I'm doing.
Corey's out.
Yeah, I don't talk at all, and he's always like, you know, keeps bringing up stuff, and I feed into it a little bit, and then I'm like right back into my zone.
We're old guys.
Yeah.
Man. Well, we gotta have a little bit of breather in there,
Yeah, I
you
know.
know.
When
A little
Corey
bit
and
of
I-
break, you know. That's what we're doing. We're taking short breaks.
When Corey and I dig, I mean, I'm always like, so, like trying to bring it up, you know, and trying to talk about something. So, you hear about so and so? How are they doing? Oh, they're doing all right. You know, we try to talk, but then it gets quiet, and then all of a sudden, dude, oh my God, get my, oh, geez, get your camera, bro, get your camera.
Yeah, that's
and he
when
comes
that's
over
awesome.
and films. But like there is usually a time we're talking. Sometimes I like to dig with Corey next to him, and we'll just dig a trench, and there'll be a little island in between us, and one of us has to decide which one of us is going to break.
There's
the
always a
island.
point in it.
That
Always.
times
Always
there's
a point
something
there.
there.
Yeah, I can't wait to. Deadwood the other
Point
week.
Peninsula is what I
Yeah.
always call them.
Yeah.
Deadwood was
There's a
little
point in that peninsula.
every time. What about if they'll sticking out
Good.
both sides? It's like 7 inches long. Like we both are pulling on.
Yeah. It's so big.
Yeah.
No.
Deadwood was a little wet last time we were there. It was real.
I couldn't find it. I mean, it's in a flood zone now because they flooded that lake.
Yeah.
But
when the lake
it's hard
floods.
to like. Oh wait, things have changed in a year and a half.
Yeah.
Things have changed. I had to like really look around to where I was. I'm like, oh, okay, this is where we were digging. I found his old wiggle pick that he left. Oh,
still
okay,
there.
I'm starting right here because they were having a good day before,
Yeah,
someone
well,
stepped in.
I need a new wiggle pick. Mine is so worn down.
Is
It's
it? Yeah,
ridiculous. But it's kind of good too because it has all rounded edges on it now.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably worn down a 1/4 inch from tip to blade edge and everything.
Man, I tell you what, the last Arrowhead show, granted it was one of my better Etleys I've ever found. Needle tip, perfect, G10. But Creek Dalton, he gave me $200 cash and then a free wiggle pick for that one point.
The red one?
No, it was a white, I called it my Christmas tree. It looked just like a Christmas tree.
Yeah, because the red one I thought was more of a Smith type plane.
No, yeah, I still have it.
Or probably a
Oh,
Melville. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Eyeballing
That's a
like,
nice
no,
one. You're not
no,
trading
yeah.
Oh
anything for
man,
that.
you don't even know how close that point came to getting lost. I was on the backside. It was a massive ball of roots that had fallen in, and I was up on the backside of it, of course, where you want to be. And I found a little point. You probably remember this. Remember that guy that was calling me out on that? It was fake. That I planted that.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, what the problem was is I found this little woodland dart point. It was nasty, but it was a find. I was happy to find it. And
Little pooter.
yeah, little pooter. And then I'm walking. The boat is literally because I pick the boat up and then I go get Richard. That's how we do it. And it's right there. And I'm like, man, all the flakes around that ball. I better go check around the front side of it. So I walked around the ball and I had to swamp my boots to get to it because of the way the limbs are all down.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, man, I'm looking along. I see a sinker. I pick the sinker up, and right when I pick that sinker up, I see that thing laying there. My heart freaking stopped because it was so freaking nice. And what I did, I put that little arrowhead down, just laid it down so I could film me picking up. And that's why that guy thought I planted it. He thought I was taking arrowheads out there, and he's like, "Oh, he forgot to pick that other one up that he was trying to plant."
Dummy.
Yeah, like
Stupid.
calling me out. Like,
Well, that's
fake.
the thing about social media, man.
I know, you're always gonna get your haters.
You're always going to get your haters because there are so many people
Oh, yeah,
that
I
are
got it.
just,
What is it?
they're small-minded.
Yeah, they are.
They don't know how to grow above themselves,
So we do have a question from Crystal Eyes.
Yeah, we know who he is.
Okay.
He's also been on YouTube. Hey, buddy, what's up, bro?
Let's hear Brooks talk about the story of the buck.
Oh, the big buck behind
I
me.
was gonna say that is your big bucky shot.
Yeah, it's on video too. And here's a picture. My
He's
you
getting a
can
picture now.
show that on there.
Oh, that's cool,
My,
man. Here,
Here, show it in
Oh,
front
that's
of the camera.
beautiful, bro.
Yeah, show that.
But
That's
my YouTube buddy Hopewell MJ actually took that from a real picture of me in that exact pose, the buck in that pose and everything, and took that from one of the
See it.
pictures from the hunt, and then drew that to make me look like an actual Cherokee Indian 200 years ago. That's why it has just the 2 fletching on the arrow, because that was the Cherokee trait, was to only have 2 feathers fletching on the arrow instead of a 3 fletched arrow.
Mike, I went to college and I got a major history. I didn't finish
She
it.
drew this?
Yeah, it's
Man, that's
also
killer.
a dot. How they do it by the dot, 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 dot.
That's
I
killer,
got a
man.
major
Holy
history,
crap.
and I was looking.
That's awesome.
The majority of what I was learning was federal policies involving Native Americans, and they're talking about the Cherokee. Towards the end, they're called the civilized tribe because they were actually like around Kentucky and the Appalachians, and they got forced over to Oklahoma. But they were talking about how they were the civilized tribe, and Andrew Jackson, who forced the Native Americans to do the walk, the Trail of Tears. Well, the guy who was head
Yeah, I have the Missouri Archaeological Society poster they did on the Trail of Tears.
Yeah.
Front of it has artwork by a Native American Cherokee. It does awesome artwork. The back of it has a ton of information, where a lot of people don't even know the most northern route of the Trail of Tears actually landed in our backyard, over in Waynesville, Missouri, right across from the Ruby Doo Spring,
Yeah.
which is one of the few, and actually I think it's been closed off a little while for diving, but out of the few caves you can dive in the country, the Ruby Doo Spring is one of those.
Really?
And
I know right what you're talking about.
all of that farm, all that farmland right across from there is the most northern camp where they had them stationed at for a while.
Really?
Through routes coming through.
Are
on the Trail
are
of
you
Tears.
talking about where the Ruby Doo runs into the Gasconade, like that big field right there?
No, you have to be right across from the spring.
Oh,
The
okay.
spring is in town.
Yeah, up there in town. Okay.
Yeah, up inside Wayne.
You ever been up in that
South
cave up
City
in there?
Park.
That giant cave?
Yeah, but you won't get caught in there nowadays.
Really?
We
Yeah.
don't want to get caught anywhere nowadays.
Well,
I've seen
I
it.
mean, even people that just go up there to spelunk and stuff, because
Yeah.
they've had so many problems with it through the years, they just kind of quit giving permission.
Man, I
from what
seen a
I've kind of heard.
I seen a Hopewell found out there that is immaculate. Found
I
in
can imagine.
found in a hole.
That's a
Guy-
fantastic shelter.
Guy reached his arm. Well, his name's Rocky. He reached his arm back in the hole, felt something, pulled it out, and it's a big pink Hopewell. I mean, it's about 6 inches long.
The same
Sick.
Rocky that I know?
Yeah.
He would be able to reach his long alien arm in there. So earlier I was like, hey, what movies have you seen lately that you liked? Anything?
Yeah, what did I just watch? I'm trying to think. That's one thing about me. I retain 75% of everything, and the other. But movies are something that, like, I just don't remember. That's why I can watch them a year later, and they're still a good movie to
Yeah.
me. 'Cause
Yeah,
I
that's
forgot
cool.
most of everything on it.
See me, I can quote.
But that's
my
because the
entire
brain
life
can only
movies.
retain so much information at once, and it's got so much of this in there,
Yeah, that's
you
the
know,
problem.
and fishing and mushrooms. There ain't much room for anything
Yeah.
else.
And that's a
You
good
know,
thing, though. Like, if
well,
you're,
it
can
does
agree.
retain carving and still anything I can craft.
Is your Hearthstone case? Is that all personal finds?
Well, no, it has some gifted finds in there. There's actually
Then
that
we
small.
can we take a look at that?
I will get down the horse.
Absolutely,
I'll get it down, alright?
Yeah, I wanna.
absolutely.
I've been eyeballing that thing for the last hour.
But yeah, I got that new hematite grooved axe from actually a YouTube buddy, Artifact Man 660.
Yeah. Okay.
And he sent that to me in that Nebo Hill there as a gift because I had sent him some stuff beforehand.
Nebo
Well, here you can flash that in front of
Where's this
Camera.
Nebo Hill at?
that big white Sedalia looking
Right here.
point. Yeah, but see how it has the median ridge on it?
Oh yeah.
That's why it's a Nebo Hill.
Oh, no.
Sedalias don't have a median ridge, though it is from the same culture.
Really?
But that's your northwest, at least
Yeah.
Sedalia culture. They're mostly Nebo Hills.
Yeah, I knew
in
like
that
up by
area.
like Kansas City and all that. They find what they call Nebo Hills.
Yeah, and then you get over towards, a little bit, northwest of us, you have your Sedalia Trennington sites.
So that's probably what I found.
and we're
last
the
weekend.
Sedalia Smetley culture.
I probably found the Sedalia Trennington site down there at Deadwood. Did you see that the same day he found that nice one? I found that it's about 5.5 inches long.
That's a nice Nebo
Has-
Hill.
Well, it might be the Trennington. I didn't know. It's definitely a Sedalia type.
You want me to put that
No.
down?
Yeah, you can give it to Corey.
Look at it.
Open
Mercy!
Heck, I've heavily
Wanna try
fondled all the rocks in there. Yeah, I guess I'll try the hoop
Uh-oh.
once.
Here we go. He's trying to hook. Yeah, I want. Did you find that pipe looking thing right?
No, that's from Southwest Missouri.
But there's pictures. I've seen. I think pictures of it.
Oh yeah, I
like,
have the in
it's-
situ picture and everything of it that my buddy found at old Scruffy Farnsworth.
I mean, that thing.
He found, and like I said, there's got all kinds of Burlington inclusions in it. Has the one piece of iron inclusion in it on the bottom side, and then it has your crinoid fossils on the side and the top, and the mouthpiece has been carved but never drilled.
Oh, I see what they're
And
about to do.
you can't, even a little pipe like that, you would still have to drill your stem before you ever even shape it down that far. Or
So could you maybe say that this was a person trying to make a pipe that just messed up, and because he maybe lack of experience of making something like that? And,
Oh no, that's nicely made. You take a piece of stone like that.
Oh,
and
yeah, for
something
sure.
Like that, you
Did I
got
ever-
it pretty handy dandy. Now that's why it has a concave bottom. It was made for something else.
did I ever tell you about the pipe that I found up on my arcade
Yeah, I'm
site?
pretty sure I remember seeing that.
No, well, this was back before I was filming. This is the thing when I first started hunting. I was hunting in field, and I'd only been hunting.
The hill.
Yeah, I'd only been hunting for a little bit, and I got this tip that, hey man, there's a hill right above this field you hunt that's loaded with points, because they had just plowed it in the '90s and cleared it, and my buddy and his grandma went up there and they found all kinds of stuff, man. So me and my uncle Randy were like, oh, okay, well tomorrow after I get out of school, let's go out and stick a shovel in the ground. Boy, we had no idea what we were about to start uncovering, because it was so loaded. But I found the bowl, and my uncle had found. So let's say I found this part, and he had found a section of the stem. It wasn't intact, but the bowl was about this big around. It was about, I don't know. It was huge, and it was about that deep. But I took it to the Arrowhead show. It was made out of Ohio pipestone, and they said it had been a pipe worth about 20 grand if it had been whole. It was white with like red specks in it, and it was so soft, the material. It was so awesome. But it was a platform pipe. It was so cool.
Yes, so those are usually average Hopewell pipe.
Yep, but it was up on that arcade and that hill, and the bowl had the mark, the drill marks in it, and it had that tiny little hole where the stem was, and it fit right on my bowl. So like an idiot, I give it away, because I'm like, oh, my friend Howard's like, oh, I love that piece, and you give it to him, and he actually pawned it and lost it.
No.
So it's gone forever. That's the moral of that story. Don't give anything.
But my favorite, well, see, that come from my second shelter there, and that actually come from where I showed you that deer antler billet I have.
Yeah.
That come with the two blades there. That was all stashed underneath a great big rock like this.
Really?
And actually, a buddy of mine that I passed on to, it has the great big blade. It's probably I've always called it a Lerma blade, because that layer, that 6-inch layer there, like revealed very little except those blades, that and a couple Afton looking points.
Yeah.
There's all those bone tools, but it had that bone all, had that deer antler billet with those two blades, and on the other, like maybe a foot away from the rock, was the other blade with the other end of the deer antler, the two end tiny tips, where it's probably being used as a pressure flaker.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, that's cool. So
And
like a little cash.
that's the thing about us. The only thing you're gonna find, bone tools like that is in a shelter. Yeah, that piece you just had picked up, my green banded glacial slate Gorgon.
Yeah,
That's probably even over my salt and axe and
Oh,
my
for sure.
hematite ads.
Yes.
And all that. It's probably actually my favorite piece for one reason. That material was packed here from a distance. We don't have green banded glacial slate in Missouri.
Well, anything drilled, man. I mean,
And
come on.
then it's a salvaged gorget, because if you look at the top piece right there,
Yeah,
it
it's-
has the original drill hole
Oh,
from
yeah.
one end where it went. There's still 2/3 of that piece missing.
And you can
then
see
they
where they-
re-drilled it.
You can see where they're grinding it to rework it back down to make it into. The only drilled piece I found was actually found in 2000. This past year, I found a piece of a conch shell from Mexico. I found it up on Missouri Ditch, and I seen it from a mile away. I seen a hole.
There's actually a lot of shelters around us that have revealed a lot of conch.
Yeah, I mean, why?
Cahokia had a lot of conch.
Well, the thing is, this thing was in a creek, and how it survived, I have no idea. But the hole's dead center in it, and it had to be a necklace piece. I mean, maybe a centerpiece, because it's about that long.
Well, it's like a friend of mine in Texas. He just found a killer banner stone, and a lot of guys I've never met that are some hardcore hunters. He's definitely one guy, I believe and trust,
Yeah.
And this banner stone he found's a porphyry, material from Arkansas, and just a phenomenal banner stone.
Gosh, I'm still waiting for mine.
He showed it to me before he showed it to anybody, I guess, because we had to look at it a little hard and do a little material investigation, before we could actually find,
Yeah.
material it was and possibly where from, and then get it confirmed from somebody else, you
I've
know.
never even
'Cause
found.
there's always somebody smarter than us.
Oh
you
yeah.
know.
I've
Those are the
never-
guys you want to ask questions, you know.
Yeah, I've never even found it broke yet, so I'm still.
Maybe there's always somebody smarter than us, but there's always somebody looking up to us. Like, oh man, these guys know what they're
And
doing.
then the other piece is over there on the microwave actually, but this is a broken banner stone from the dirty hole. And then see the adjoining property, that guy on
Oh,
his
man.
site found he had found, and I've been trying to get him to give me the pictures so I can show him, or at least add them into my records with everything else, because I think it's really important. But it was a tubular banner stone that had a third of it broke off. But he sold it at one of the Lake Ozark shows, like I think back in 2012, for even 2/3 of broke. Sold it for like $1,300-1,500, something like that.
Yeah, they're
A guy wanted it really bad, you know.
they're highly valuable. They're
But,
awesome. That's cool to see.
So
And
always
hematite.
hope if there's 2 banner stones that come up there, maybe they have a good hardstone banister up there that didn't break, you know. Because that's the thing about a lot of our hematite, like that there is like your really high quality hematite when it has that color on the
Yeah.
inside of it, you know, where it's not that solid black, it's more like a blue black, you know.
Yeah, I found several paint stones recently, and they're no mistaken paint stones. I mean, polished smooth, and right in the dead center, there's a little divot where your thumb goes.
Oh, that big faceted piece there. This one? No, the big one. No, the big oblong one. That one there. Hell, when I dug it up, I painted my face with it.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I
you know,
wish
it's
I was-
if it was still in the workings to be something, but it don't really have a defined shape to. I mean, it does have a really defined shape to it, but not for a practical use. You know what I mean?
I love hematite, everything. But yeah, the one I just found down at Deadwood was so awesome. I love those paint stones, man. But yeah, that last one I found, it pretty much has the thumbprint of the Indian in it. It's flat, it's more smooth, and right in the center there's a little divot that your thumb fits in perfect, and there's little scratches in there. Nowhere else on that thing is there a scratch because it's so polished. But right in the center of that little divot, you can tell you scratch it up and you rub it and get his paint. And I tell you, it's like the thumbprint of the Indian, because my thumb fits perfectly in that little divot. It's awesome.
Maybe it was you in a previous life.
I don't know, but someone walked right over it. There's a footprint right next to it. People,
You think that's possible?
That
we
was a
had
good
previous
day
life?
for you.
that was.
I love it when guys walk right past the point.
Yeah, we better think about wrapping this thing up because it's getting so
Yeah.
long.
So since we're gonna wrap it up soon, who do you
Thank
think
you,
we should?
folks.
Who do you think we should have on next?
Ooh.
I'm gonna get the author of your Flint book.
Jack Ray, yeah,
You think he'd
I'd
come on
like
and
to get with
yell at
him
us?
too, but yeah, they do a meetings every so often. I think the next one is actually coming up in April.
I was
down at
thinking maybe-
Springfield for the Missouri Archaeological Society, where Jack and the rest of them all get together and they do some pretty good talks and stuff. I mean,
Maybe
for
we
anybody that's in Missouri and especially that area.
Maybe Dennis
You know.
Stanford would make a trip out to be on our podcast.
Dennis. Well, I mean, let's say I think we can learn something from these archaeologists, but there has
Well,
to
there's
be
always
some sort of
something to
bridge.
learn. There's always something to learn from them, of course.
And they can learn something from us. Well, the idea that there's a gap, there's an obvious gap, and they
Oh,
hate
yeah.
us, and we're like, oh, these guys. Let's figure it out.
I don't hate
let's bridge it.
anybody, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Like-
mean,
like my-
hey, you know, if it's in the dirt, you know, there's so many sites that get ruined. That's the thing I like about Dr. Dennis Stanford. You know, that works for the Smithsonian Society, basically in my book. You know,
he's
the
awesome, man.
top archaeologist.
Yeah, he's
you know.
awesome.
You know, he says, especially if you know a site's just gonna be getting destroyed. You know, of course, retrieve everything you can, record what you can. You know, and
Yeah, for
if you're, you know, if it's private property and you know you're not being destructive, you know, then do it. You know,
From the
not everything can be like that. And then you got certain state laws, you know. But,
yeah, but
I'm
we live in
sorry,
Missouri.
there's a lot of states that just have terrible state laws.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't even pick something off the surface. That is just the most ridiculous
Yeah.
thing.
Laws
in the
don't work.
world.
Sorry, hey, laws don't work. This is the fact.
Yeah, Dennis Stanford,
Laws
his
don't work.
his little seminars. Yeah, there I got that word out. But from what he says, that you can tell he encourages people to get out there and learn like he's doing. But man, that dude is so on
Well,
top.
the amateur archaeologists can bring so much to the table if they would just let them.
Yeah.
You know, and they do it some. You know, there is a lot of people that work with them nowadays, but
Yeah.
they're still, they're just a little bit to the offside, I think.
Yeah. Dennis Stanford, he's definitely one of my.
I try to be open-minded about everything.
Well, yeah. I mean, when it comes
That's the thing about him, he's very open-minded, but.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Him
so
getting
does-
they got that dredge boat and they're dredging 20 miles off the coast, finding
Well,
solutions and
they've had two, I think, found like that, and the first one he didn't know about it until he was called to a museum
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
out there, and went to go look at something else.
yeah,
I don't even remember exactly what it was, but he noticed this case where they had these mastodon bones and they laid that slutrine point in it, but there's a site somewhere where like Virginia, Tennessee, and all that come together where, below what was, your Clovis layer, whatever was there, was a small slutrine point. It's
Yeah.
on a video on YouTube.
yeah,
I have it on probably my favorites list or something
Yeah.
like that. I have all them videos saved. But the thing about it is, and I've been meaning to actually pull this site up here recently, but he even talks about a slutrine site that's on the European, Spain continent, where the most of their projectile points there, the slutrines or whatever, were actually material that came from an island, the only place in the world that material comes from or whatever, that was back then, by paddle or whatever, probably like a 3-week trip there and back.
good lord.
So, they had boats back then. The Aborigines boat hopped to get to Australia 60, 50,000
Yeah.
years ago. Why wouldn't anybody else know that? Too,
Yeah, see, but from the way Dennis Stanford talks, he thinks they came not through so much through the Great Barrier Strait up there. He thinks they came across ice
Well,
caps
yeah,
and
the
boats.
Clovis culture and all that. Yeah,
from
they
the
come
east
across.
coast in.
Yeah, they come across Europe, come across the Great Titan ice sheet, and at
Clovis.
that time,
What I love about it,
at
it's
that time, the North Atlantic current, they believed because that Titan ice sheet pushed so far down, actually sped the North Atlantic current up a little bit, which caused them to be able to actually travel by boat a little bit
Yeah.
faster.
Yeah, and then he said that they would just, they could feed on seal that was on the ice caps. They follow right along.
No, yeah, there's a
Absolutely.
YouTube whole documentary
Yeah.
about that. It's
Yeah.
good too.
Yeah,
A lot of guys hate that theory, but
I know. Well, it rewrites history, so
New
of course
York.
I would.
and then there's actually some other western points that actually date like some of the oldest Clovis sites do. I think like around 18,000 years.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
but who's to say that they didn't both come across
Yeah,
at
exactly.
the same time?
exactly.
And they're a little bit more over that way, but something did cause all the megafauna to disappear.
Yeah. And
And the reason they think there ain't no crater is because of wherever the asteroid hit at that time was 1.5 miles thick of Titan ice sheet.
yeah,
So you're not gonna get a crater. But I think I remember reading they thought they kind of had it narrowed down to a couple possible valleys.
really.
That it created, but
Huh.
they're not actually a crater like in Arizona.
Yeah.
Or looking at the moon. Great big asteroid craters like that.
Well, then you ready to wrap this thing up?
The uppers.
Dude,
I got some fish I gotta cook for dinner.
Yeah, we're all
Speaking
getting
of
into. I got stuff to do for work tomorrow.
I'm
Yeah.
hungry.
So let's get a hold of Richard
Yeah, well,
and
we'll see what we can do. I mean,
find out what kind of internet he has out there.
don't get your hopes up.
No, we're just gonna show up. Hey.
Oh god, that'd be a nightmare. Just show up, he'd be a nervous wreck. Cool, man. Well, we'll be thinking about. Heck, I mean, we might.
Thanks for joining in, folks.
Yeah, we might do Brooksy more often. This is.
No, we can do Brixie whenever. I mean, once a week. We want to ramp up the amount of podcasts we do.
And then.
Well, what I think would work good too is actually people asking questions.
Yeah.
And being
Oh,
able
yeah.
to answer those questions.
Yeah, question there for sure.
Of course, we're always going to talk about rocks, and there's
Yeah.
always something kind of more information to give, especially whether it's point types for our area. I can't really count out of my area, but you do have generalized.
All right, we
points.
got wide watches 84. Wide watch. No, don't pause it. Anyway, we have a guy on YouTube asking what's your Instagram and YouTube. I think
It's
they're talking about
Brooksy.
you.
It's Brooksy's Nomadic Adventures.
Yeah,
Brooksy.
Brooksy is nomadic. You can't look up Missouri Arrowheads without seeing it. I mean, There's
Just hashtag Brooksy's Nomadic Adventures.
Yeah, I'll make sure. I'll make sure to.
He'll follow you right to me.
So our Hookah Talk is what we're doing. It's a podcast, and we're having random people on. Not random. We're pre-selected folk. And if you want to go check out our Hookah Talk, type in Hookah Talk at libsyn.com, and there's our podcast. We'll have people on. We'll have special guests, and Mike Brooks is the one we've been talking about since the beginning.
yeah.
And we want to have Mike Brooks on pretty much
We
maybe
never
once a week.
did get to the whole deer story for Crystal. They had me hit that hook and it throwed me off track.
Hey, well, that'll give us something to talk about next time.
That video's on YouTube though, you can go watch it. It's from 2013, so you gotta scroll back about, 5 years?
in Cinco. And
Like on my Instagram page, my link on there is to my YouTube channel.
we got Crystal Eyes saying, "What's this all about? Rock on." I mean, it's all about rocks.
Yeah, it's just a podcast to talk about what all our hobbies are. We're bringing it all together. The trifecta.
The trifecta.
Awesome.
Mike, one other question: How do you keep your beard so fluffy and beautiful?
How do I keep it so fluffy and beautiful? A little bit of beard oil and good woman's
There
shampoo.
we go.
What beard oil do you use?
Oh, I'm not one of them. Buy the real expensive. What's that? The brand them everybody's buying the beard butter stuff, and
I don't know.
I just buy this stuff at the store. It says beard oil.
I got a company out of Colorado that's called Old Souls. They make beard oil.